Broadcasting from the Meredith Hall Studios out of Carson City, Nevada, you're listening to Covering the Field with Big Richard Martin, Gator Gates, and Joe the Answer Ellison.
Welcome to Covering the Field. I'm Joe Ellison, and with me are the great Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. Guys, let's begin with what was another amazing week of football. Big Rich, what happened during Week 4 in the National Football League?
What a weekend it was. We have a month into the season, 4 weeks in, so we're getting to see that there's really no really dominant team, and there's really nobody defeated except for the Houston Texans, because the Raiders got their first win, demolishing the Broncos. And, I think Kansas City looks really strong. I think we see that Buffalo was behind to the Ravens by, 10 points or down by 10 at halftime.
Oh, they were down 20-3 at one point.
20-3 at one time. They were down by 10 at halftime and had to come roaring back. So, obviously, there's some problems there. Baltimore not holding the league at home, they definitely should have had that game won. I think that's something they're going to look back and wish they had that, because that'll probably cost something in the future of the playoffs spottings. New England, Green Bay, that was a good game, great game. Brian Hoyer goes out, so we got our guy
Bailey Zappi.
Bailey Zappi's in there. We've been talking about him since last year. He led the nation in passing yards last year and touchdowns with the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, and they put him as the third-string quarterback, and now he's the man.
Yeah, but Green Bay had a terrible start in that game. It was 10-7 at halftime. So I'm not really convinced that Green Bay's, 3-1, but they always start slow and get good at the end.
They do. But I think they have a definite problem with receivers. There's no doubt about it. We've been talking to Joe. You said he can throw it to anybody. Mm-hmm. Well, he had a hard time throwing it to anybody. Their number one receiver, from
Nevada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, these guys got to grow into that. They're not just going to come out and be Devontae.
Exactly.
You can't replace a Devontae Parker.
It's hard for rookies to do really well in the NFL anyway, and especially at wide receiver.
Right. And then you look at Aaron Rodgers yelling at his center on TV. Mm-hmm. He's just like a big bully. Mm-hmm. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. And I made that very clear. I think he's a great quarterback, a great athlete. I just don't like some of his antics and some of the things he says. And when you take all the money, now you have nobody to throw to. So you deal with it, dude. You made that bed, you sleep in it.
Mm-hmm. As far as that Baltimore game, they had a chance to kick that field goal. It's 20-20, and they're on the 2-yard line.
That's right.
And I'm screaming at the TV and anybody around me, kick the darn field goal, take the 3-point lead. They don't do it. Buffalo goes the entire length of the field and ends up kicking a field goal, although maybe Buffalo could have scored a touchdown had they had to do that also.
Right. Well, he was playing to win, and you can't get mad at a coach trying to play to win in that situation. But your defense is definitely questionable. Baltimore has given up over 100 points in defense in 4 games, so they're averaging 25 points a game. Not Baltimore's typical defense. You're at home. I know what he was saying. We're not going to be able to stop him anyway, but at least you could have a chance at overtime if you'd kicked the field goal.
Yeah. Well, they're at home, but they've lost 5 straight at home now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they are very shaky at the moment. In fact, they've only been losing, actually, 15 seconds out of the entire year. But they're
2-2, and they, like I told you, their defense is definitely questionable. They average 30 points a game on offense, just a tick under 30 points. So Lamar Jackson's he's carrying the team right now, and I think that dude needs to get paid.
Well, he will, for sure. And I guess we should mention Tua.
Right.
Tua got Miami's quarterback got hurt Thursday. And now they're talking about new concussion protocols.
Right. Well, actually, I think they had a third world country doctor clear him to play, and now he's out there wobbling around, gets into another concussion, and I'm going to save that for my You Got Hosed story because that's just one. But, Tua's on his back, and Matt Stafford's in the toilet, and, what a game for the 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their defense is just amazing, and they're getting their Ward back as their starting safety and a starting cornerback. So that defense is only going to get better, and they're only giving up league-high 46 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to Tua, he did look a little wobbly the week before, but he was cleared by all the doctors to play. I think that hit he got Thursday just by itself was enough for a concussion.
Sure.
Isn't it possible he didn't have
Right. They
concussion
diagnosed
the
it
week
with the
before?
back injury that we talked about last week. He had a back injury, and that's why he was wobbly. It had nothing to do with the hit on the head. You can see his head got clearly hit on the illegal hit by the Bills. Definitely took a hit. So something, I think that we will see better concussion protocol. Doesn't help him if he's your fantasy football. The concussion protocol is no good for fantasy owners. That's for sure.
Didn't they fire that medical staff guy?
They did. Yeah, so we were talking.
So
They're basically saying...
you know what I'm... Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
He was, after all that trouble, he actually did have a concussion.
Right.
Otherwise,
That's
why
what
would they
I'm
fire
saying.
them?
That's what I'm saying. And he's going to be out for week 5, which is the right thing. But I think they did right. I know they're probably going to get sued.
Right.
I know all that
Okay.
stuff, but I still think Miami did okay. I don't know. You're right about the medical guy being from a
Third
world
world country.
Yes.
Probably has some investment in
Who knows?
Miami Dolphin Incorporated or something like that.
Right.
But anyway, let's move on. I mean, he did get hurt, and it's obviously something we have to look for. There's always going to be concussion protocol in the NFL from here going forward, and we know that.
Other interesting things that happened last week. Sunday morning, Minnesota defeated New Orleans. The field goal at the end, the
That was-
60-yarder.
Wow.
The double dunker.
Yeah.
The double dunk.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, the
That
double
was
dunk.
pretty
It both
impressive.
yeah. Looked like a hockey game where it was bouncing around the pipes.
Yep. Then we had Seattle, 48-45 at Detroit. Very entertaining game.
Absolutely.
Seattle never punted in that game, Joe.
So I'll give you your sink or swim, fellas. Detroit's the number 1 offense in football right now.
I would say, yeah, they would have to be. And I'm
swimming?
sure I'm going to swim with
They
that.
swim with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I'm going to say they're at least the highest scoring team. I don't know if they have the most yards, but I have to assume
But
they're
that's
both.
where I would have to say Detroit has the most yards.
So you're both
Because of
swimming.
the
You guys are
running
swimming with the Lions.
We're swimming with
You
the
guys are both correct. They lead in yards and points. Unfortunately, they gave up 140. They had 140 points in 4 games, but unfortunately, they've given up 141 points in 4 games. So that's why they're 1-3.
Yeah. Philly beat Jacksonville 29-21 and stayed undefeated. The only undefeated team. Jacksonville was best in turnover margin going into that game, and they coughed the ball up 5 times.
Yeah.
4 interceptions and a fumble.
And they were all by Trevor Lawrence.
Well,
So I mean, he had a tough game, but he actually kept them tight. I mean, the closer they did cover the spread. Philly did, but there was a close game.
Well, in his defense, he did look good in the first quarter.
So-
And then, like you said, he did make it close, but he did look okay
I
in the
think
first
Jacksonville
quarter.
was up 14-0.
Yeah.
They were.
So, Kansas City won at Tampa Bay 41-31 Sunday night. That's the first time
Entertaining game.
Wow.
Tom Brady scored 31 points in a game and lost.
All right. So he did look good. He had better numbers than Patrick Mahomes. Unfortunately,
Here's a-
Patrick Mahomes is just magical.
Here's a stat that gets me, guys. Tampa Bay, 3 rushing yards on 6 attempts.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you can go
not
3
really-
yards. I think you just run Tom Brady 3 times over the center 3 times and get that kind of yardage. I
think
mean, he's
so.
the best quarterback sneak guy in football.
Mahomes had 189 by himself.
Wow. So-
Okay. And the Jets won at Pittsburgh. That's the first time the Jets have had consecutive road wins in 7 years.
Wow.
So, there you go. So,
Yeah, that is a remarkable stat.
So you're telling me the Jets are back? Is that what you're saying, Joe? You're gonna put it here on cover of the field? The Jets are back.
they're back for 2 weeks
All right.
on the road.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's about it. That's all they got. So, other things besides their no dominant team, like you said, Philly, they are leading the league in rushing touchdowns.
Right.
Which is, and if you can run the ball and play a little defense, that's a
Yeah.
good recipe
It's a
for
great
victory.
victory and success doing that, doing those kind of things, keeping control of the ball, not getting in a shootout, and playing good defense. You're
Yeah,
correct.
we were high on Philly before the season started. But look at that division: 4-0 for Philly, Dallas, and the
Right.
Giants 3-1.
Dallas getting a big win.
Who the heck was
Cooper Rush got his 3rd win. I mean,
Unbelievable.
that's great.
It is great.
It's good for football when the Cowboys are playing good.
Parody's
Right.
great.
Speaking of parity, how about the NFC West?
Wow.
Every team is 2-2.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And the Niners looked absolutely awesome. I don't know why they are hating on Jimmy Garoppolo, not giving me love. He just owns the Rams, and I think he's like 7-0 against McVay in regular season games. I mean, he's just amazing.
It is amazing. The Niners definitely step up their game when they play the Rams. They get fired up for that.
Right.
Arizona, unfortunately for them, 0 points in the first quarter over the first 4 games of the season. Slow starts lead to having to come back late, and that's not the way you're going to win games.
Not a recipe normally in the NFL.
I have them outscored 66-16 in the first halves.
Wow.
Yeah, so disappointing. That's
So
the
you're
word
telling
I
me don't
use.
take Arizona in the first half. That's a first half good halftime bet. All right.
There
They're a
you
good
go.
halftime bet. Yep.
Yeah.
So, before we get to this week's picks, what are the major injury news stories heading into Week 5? Obviously, we're saying Tua is out for Miami.
Yeah, Tua's on the concussion protocol, but I think it's good to give him time to rest. They got Teddy Bridgewater now. He'll get a first whole week with the practice with the starting. Actually, he's going to have an extra 3 days because they played on Thursday. So I think that's going to be a good recipe for the Dolphins this week against the Jets. But Javonte Williams, the great running back for Denver Broncos, ACL out for the year, and also I think it's his lateral tendon also, so a major knee injury for him. He's out for the year. Randy Gregory, former Dallas defensive player, he's had knee surgery. He'll be out for 4 to 6 weeks.
No good riddance for him.
Good riddance for him. Jonathan Taylor has an ankle injury, and he has been officially ruled out for the Thursday night game. Daniel Jones has an ankle injury, and he is probable. So I don't know. I would say he's got a 50-50 chance.
50-50, it sounded like.
Right. But they did bring Fromm in from the former quarterback from Georgia to be a backup quarterback. So it looks like Daniel Jones is definitely going to be gimping up this weekend. And Hoyer's out. Braylon Zappi is going to be starting for the
Bailey Zappi?
Bailey Zappi is going to be starting for the New England Patriots.
Oh, that's official now.
That's official. He'll be starting this week.
Okay.
And the Buffalo Bills, Jamison Crowder is out for the season, and their other wide receiver, Isaiah McKenzie, is out for this week. So a very limited wide receiver room for Josh Allen.
Yeah, not a good week to have the name Jones and be a quarterback in the NFL. That means you're hurt, basically. We got Daniel and Mac.
Right.
Yes. Also, Cordero Patterson is out for 4 games. Got put on IR for Atlanta. And Pittsburgh is going through a bit of a change also. And it's not injury related.
It's not injury related. It's quarterback related. So they finally got Kenny Pickett, who they wanted. And what did he do? Go in there and threw 3 interceptions. You get what you want, Pittsburgh, right? You got a rookie quarterback. You're going to have rookie mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, the ball never touched the ground. He didn't throw it. He threw 3 interceptions with no incompletions. So, I mean, the ball was definitely being in play most of the time he was in there. I mean, it's just a tough situation. And they made him the starter next week. Going into Buffalo, the number 1 defense in the AFC. And tough place to play. And, the Bills Mafia will be out in full force, and that's a tough place to get your first start as an NFL quarterback.
Yep, definitely throwing him into the fire. And the spread is 14 points.
Right.
So the odds makers that's the highest one we've had so far this year. So as far as handicapping the NFL games is concerned, so far this year, 36 underdogs have covered and 28 favorites. This is what we were talking about before the season started. Lean towards the dogs. 25 underdogs have won straight up. 28 road teams have won straight up. So we were saying road dogs, we're saying underdogs in general, and taking the road teams. And this year has been no different than last year.
All right, covering against the spread is the hardest thing in the NFL, and
just in any sport.
the
NFL is probably the toughest.
The toughest for sure. In college football and then basketball.
Anything involving point spreads.
Right.
Yes.
But it makes it interesting, Joe. That's why we watch every week, and that's why we go and make our wagers.
That's right.
Yeah, well, it's been interesting. 23 games have been decided by 3 points or less. I knew last week 18 in 3 weeks was a record. I'm going to assume that this was a record too. I didn't see that, but that's what the NFL wants.
Yeah,
And
parity.
I think parity, and also with the salary cap. You can only pay for so much. I mean, I think Kansas City did a great job getting a good run defense because last year they were playing keep away, Patrick Mahomes. If you can run it against them, you can keep Patrick Mahomes on the sidelines. So they went ahead and bettered their defense, the run defense. But now they're suffering at the pass defense, which puts it in a shootout, which is good if you have Patrick Mahomes as a fantasy quarterback.
Yes.
That's what you're looking for.
As for the totals, 39 games have gone under. 24 have gone over, and 1 push. What does that tell you? We talked about that at the beginning of the season too. People love to bet the over if they got a choice. So the books are going to skew the numbers like a field goal right off the top, I would just assume.
Right.
And try to make you bet under, and people still won't.
Right. Because it's always fun when your team's scoring and you're going over and you're like, it's flying over this point spread. I mean, I think it's just good in general than sitting there watching punts after punts after punts. So better that way.
So what are your predictions for week 5? Big Rich, do you want to lead off?
Yeah, well, we went 2-3 last week, so that wasn't a great week. Obviously, I took some overs. So we're going to go ahead and go this week. You get the Big Rich 5 picks, and then you also get one under over. So I'll start with the under over. Okay, I'm going to listen to what you're saying. I have Dallas and the Rams playing. The under over is 43. I love the under in that. The Rams are with their third string center. They have only one starter from last year's Super Bowl team on that offensive line starting this week. Defensively, Dallas has a great four up front. I think they have no problem. I think it's going to be another bad week. It's a 4.5. I also like the Rams. I'm going to take Dallas with the 4.5, and I'm going to play the under on that also.
Well, I certainly like the sound of that. I'm also trying Dallas and the Rams under 43.5. I don't want to jinx my team, but Dallas in their last 16 games, 12-3-1 under.
Right.
They're all about the under. So
they're playing good defense, and without Dak out there, they're trying to take ball control. You know, Cooper Rush did have 2 interceptions last week, so that will definitely affect your unders usually. So I liked it this week to play ball control. I think they have the recipe. The Rams look banged up, even at wide receiver part now. So, I mean, Matthew Stafford hasn't thrown a touchdown in the fourth quarter all year. They're just they're reeling, and it just look like they have a Super Bowl Super Bowl bust that last year, and then maybe it might be the bust this year.
Well, unless you count the scores that he gives to the other team.
Right,
There's
exactly.
been no scores in the fourth quarter.
All right, Joe, put a little salt in that wound, buddy. All right, man. Yeah, it was a rough game last week.
So we're in total agreement on that one.
We are.
All right. Anything else you like in there?
I do. I love the Titans going into Washington. They're only giving up 2.5, and Derrick Henry looked like he was Derrick Henry of old. I think you're going to see the same type of game you saw Philadelphia play out there. It'll be 28-10, probably somewhere in that area. I love the Titans going into Washington.
I'm shocked. We're total agreement again, and we did not rehearse any of this, but I'm taking Tennessee -3 at Washington. Also, the road team, believe it or not, in the last 6 games between these two teams is covered every single time. If you want to go with history, Tennessee is 5-0 against the spread at Washington in their last 5 attempts. And if you believe in certain months and stuff, Washington is 0-5 against the spread their last 5 games in October.
Wow.
So,
okay.
So there's things pointing definitely in Tennessee's way right here. So
definitely they're not a Halloween team is what you're telling me. Washington's not a Halloween team.
They're very scary.
Very scary, exactly.
Stay away.
Right.
So total agreement, 2-2 with us. What else?
I'm going to talk about history. I'm going to give you history. When was the last time Tom Brady lost 3 games in a row? He's lost 2 in a row.
Oof. Wow.
Before COVID.
I was going to say he's never lost 3 games in a row.
Since 2002.
Oh,
the last time he's lost 3, and he was with, 20 years? 20 years since he's lost 3 in a row. I don't see that changing. Tampa Bay's at home against Atlanta. It's 8.5, probably bounced up to 9. I got it 8.5 already, but I love Tampa Bay to have double-digit win this week.
You think they bounce back?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Even though I do like the way they're playing, they're banged up. Cordell Peterson out. We have Marcus Mariota's hasn't really he's playing decent, but he's not throwing up a lot of points. I don't think so. Especially that Tampa Bay defense is usually pretty good, except for they play Patrick Mahomes. So.
Okay. And you had one more?
Actually, I have 2 more.
Okay.
I have the Dolphins. I like them at -3 at the Jets.
Teddy Bridgewater.
I think he gets a full week of practice this week. They bounce back. Dolphins lead the league in yards after catch, the yak, and I think that's kind of goes right into Teddy Bridgewater's way to play. 3 yards, 3-step drop, dump the ball off, and let the receivers do it from there. I don't think it changed. Jets have been good, like you've been saying, 2 straight road wins. But I'm telling you, I love the Dolphins in this game. They can't lose. I think Teddy Bridgewater can hold the ship down to 2 against there. I'm partial to the Dolphins this year. I'm going to stay with them. I think they have, like I said, 10 days to prepare for the game. Gives them a big advantage. And if they had 2, I really would like them. But Teddy Bridgewater will hold the fort down.
Okay. And one last one.
Yes. Jags. I'm sticking with the Jags. I'm staying with the Jags. -7 at home against Houston. Houston is one of those teams that always covers the spread. It seems like they lose every game, but they cover the spread. So that's kind of a risky bet. But I like the way that Jacksonville's been playing. Their front four is definitely dominant. And I think that they can hold Houston down. And I think Trevor Lawrence bounces back. And they have a double-digit win against the Houston Texans.
I love that Jacksonville pick. It's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Houston did not cover last week, by the way.
No,
Okay, but they usually cover. They usually lose and cover.
You're right.
Do you have any choices there, Gator?
Okay, well, I do like the New York Giants going into Green Bay and beating Green Bay. I don't think they can stop that running game.
And that's 8 points.
You get an 8.
I was leaning that way myself, but it's not one of my picks.
Oh, okay. But that's
But
They're
I'm
going to have a
bet
backup
it.
quarterback, but that might be the future anyway for the Giants.
It very well
They're
could be,
3-1.
exactly.
And,
so, but yeah, that's the only one that a lot of the other ones I agree with. Tennessee. I like Detroit finally to win something because New England, we don't know who the quarterback is, right?
Bailey's at
but they are playing at home, so that's good for that.
Everybody's scoring on Detroit.
The over would probably be a pretty good bet on that game.
They're going to Mound House, huh?
I think that'd be a good on the over bet on that. I know that you are swearing against the over, but I kind of like the over in that one.
It's tough to bet over in New England games, but in this case, I think you have to lean that way.
Right.
So I went 3-1 for the second consecutive week.
Right on.
I'm 6-2 for the last 2 weeks. 75% sounds great.
Yeah.
I won with New England, Tennessee, and the Chicago and New York Giants under, and I did lose with Houston. I thought they would keep that close. The Chargers bounced back after getting hammered by Jacksonville, and they came back and played well. Obviously, we talked about Tennessee. We talked about the under in the Dallas game. I'm going to throw in one more. The Indianapolis and Denver game on Thursday. I like under 43.5 there. Denver's all about the under usually. Of course, they played the Raiders last week. Is all about the over.
Right, and
but
they also have an injury to Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has a shoulder injury in his throwing arm.
You guys, that was the best prop bet, by the way, for the bettors. Was the field goals 1.5? They had 4. Just to let you know, that was the best.
That was the one.
That was the one.
And with Jonathan Taylor hurt for Indy, I got to lean big time under on that game.
Okay.
Short week. And I'm just going to have 3 picks this week. And I have to thank Butch the Butcher for those stats right there. I really appreciate it. And
He's cutting it up. The Butcher's cutting him up, that's for sure.
For sure. And let's move on to college now. What were the big results from college football last week?
Okay, well, Alabama took care of Arkansas at Arkansas, 49-26. They did sustain an injury to Bryce Young's shoulder, so he is considered day-to-day. So that's something to watch because they're giving up 24 this week to Texas A&M. Texas A&M beat them, I think it was last year. You remember when they went in there to Texas A&M and they lost. So this year they're at home. Georgia has to rally. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Georgia. We were so high on them in the first 2 games of the year. It seems like the defense is softening, and Stetson doesn't seem like he can get the job done. He had to bring it. They didn't have their first lead to Missouri until 4 minutes into the fourth quarter. He had to have a comeback win. Missouri is, I'd say under par for the SEC, and having that kind of trouble definitely moved him down in the ratings, and Alabama moved up to number 1. I like the way Michigan handled Iowa with their Iowa's defense. They won 24-17. They covered, and Michigan was up 20-0 going into the fourth quarter. So they got a couple late touchdowns. I don't know if Harbaugh just likes to play his bench players and give them some playing time. I don't know, but it seems like he gives up a lot of fourth quarter points. Ole Miss holds off Kentucky. I thought that was a big game. They both were in the top 15, 22-19. Will Levi from the Kentucky Wildcats, an NFL top 5 quarterback, fumbled the ball twice in the red zone under 5 minutes. They could have given them the win, at least a tie if they didn't fumble the ball. So that was a big one. Rebels moved to 5-0 and moving to the top 10. USC moves to 5-0. They had a good game against Arizona State. So they're to 5-0. I think that everybody in Troy land is very happy. Everybody in Oklahoma land is very sad. They get thumped by TCU, 55 points. 55-24, gave up 386 yards rushing. I mean, where's the defense in Oklahoma? I mean, you're going to the SEC next year. I mean, you have got to get something done there. I don't know if that coach could even make it through his first year. You're going to fire the Wisconsin coach. I mean, how can you not fire that coach? So anyway, who do you think would...
Brett Venables, yes.
Exactly.
He's the defensive coordinator from Clemson. Supposed to be a defensive guru, won national championships, and now he can't have any defense whatsoever.
You can't stop anything out there, but you have to give him a chance to recruit. You know, I mean, It goes to recruiting defense. You know, you can't. Rome wasn't built in a day, so I might be a little bit harsh on him. I don't know. I mean, I think everybody in Oklahoma is very sad seeing the success in USC. I mean, you got to look. They lost 4 of their 5 top receivers to the portal. They lost their number 1 rusher in Oklahoma last year. He graduated, and they lost the number 2 5-star recruit quarterbacks. So I mean, that's something you have to overcome. So let's give the guy a break, I guess. Maybe I'm a little harsh on him.
I do believe Oklahoma's quarterback Dylan Gabriel also got injured in that game.
And his pride was definitely injured, but I mean, he might have had an injury. I didn't check the injury report on him. So I would like to tell you that the TCU quarterback, Max Duggan, has a quarterback rating of a 202. I didn't think you can have a quarterback rating.
I didn't think it went that high.
Well, he's definitely that high. He's got 11 touchdowns, 997 yards. He had a great run. It was like a 70-yard run against Oklahoma last week, and he has 0 interceptions on the year. So that's pretty good. He's right behind C.J. Stroud, who has a 196 quarterback rating. So he's looking good for the Heisman for sure.
All right, Gator. Did you look at any of this college stuff, or you're not really?
It's hard for me to look at that stuff.
Because you're kind of busy on Saturdays, huh?
Yeah, it's usually the busiest day for me.
All right. I didn't have any picks, but I believe Connecticut and Florida International won.
Right.
It's like these are just easily 2 of the worst teams in the entire country, and they not only covered their 14 and 22 point spreads, they won the game outright.
Sure.
Which was an amazing story.
I think you did have a pick last week. I think you did say something about Minnesota, and you said something about Kansas, if I do recall.
Yes, I last week I went 1-1. Minnesota's star running back did not play in that game.
And at the time, had the Heisman hopeful right there.
Yes,
He's good.
and at the time we made these picks, it sounded like he was going to play. Kansas is the Cinderella, the darling of the college football, at least in my opinion. 5-0.
5-0. And I'll talk about a little bit about Jalen Daniels. You get him at right now 28-1 to win the Heisman. If he runs the table in the Big 12, he might have a very good chance of winning the Heisman Trophy. You get him. He was 75-1 at the beginning of the season. He went down to 28. Another thing, if you're going to bet the Heisman, C.J. Stroud is at 125. He's been the leader throughout the season. He opened up at 130. He's at 125 right now to win the Heisman. And you'd have to go back to Marcus Mariota, 2014, that the favored won the Heisman Trophy at the beginning from all the way down.
All right.
And Bryce Young's hurt, so I'm very
that
sketchy. And Caleb Williams, if he keeps winning, you can get him at 6-1 right now.
Wow.
Well, I'm certainly not betting him, but I am full on expecting USC to lose a game here and there.
Sure.
Like Utah for sure.
I think a real good bet you can get right now 50-1. The linebacker for Alabama, Will Anderson. I think that's a good bet. I don't think there's really anybody out there running the field except for C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, if the Kansas quarterback ends up winning the Heisman, that'll be a massive upset.
When was the last time Kansas was 5-0 that they didn't have an orange ball and 2 hoops in there? I mean, that's the only time they're 5-0. So I'm telling you.
Maybe Gale Sayers days.
You'd have to go to the Kansas Common, I guess.
You'd have to go way back.
Right.
Or Nolan
Okay. We're really showing our age here.
Yeah.
So anyway,
yeah.
Picks went 3-3 last week, so pretty tough week again. I'm planning on getting it back together because the Big Rich 5-1, my 5 picks and 1 under over. I'm going to go with Tennessee -3 at LSU. LSU has not impressed me. Jim Kelly's not got that thing together yet. Tennessee is Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker. Good job. Carlos, can we say Hooker? Hendon Hooker. I was going to say Hawker, but all right, Hendon Hooker. I think he goes in there and gets the job back. Tennessee's for real. I'd like to see him knock off. I take the -3 on going into LSU. I like Michigan -22 at Indiana. This could be a trap game because they got Penn State next week, so everybody's very, very cautious on this. But what I've seen with that defense, Indiana's not showed anything this year. Michigan's defense is solid. As long as he doesn't play the second stringers in the fourth quarter, I think they might be able to cover that 22. I like Michigan. I like J.J. McCarthy, and I definitely like the running back, Blake Crone. He's a great running back, and he has outside shot of leading the nation in rushing. Okay.
Keep going.
I like Ohio State giving up 26.5. I know that's a lot of points at Michigan State. Michigan State DBs are horrendous. They got tore up. Washington tore them up. And I don't see Ohio State doing anything else. You got probably the best quarterback in the nation. Going in there, he should shred them like cheese. No problem with OSU covering that 26.5. I think that'll even go up higher. Gonna go out on a limb on this one. I'm gonna say USC. This game really intrigues me. Washington State is a good team. They were up in double digits on Oregon at home, and they ended up throwing the game. They have a young quarterback there. USC's defense is questionable for sure. They have Utah next week, so I know that this might be a game they're looking at to going ahead. But USC minus 13 is the best points that you can got from USC all year. You only have to give up 13 points because of Caleb Williams' awesome season he's having. I'm going to drop the 13. They beat me. They haven't covered the spread the last 2 weeks, but I'm going to see if they can do it this week. I'm going to take USC, and I got 2 home dogs, not 1 home dog. I got 2 home dogs. All right, so I like Kansas. I know you love this game. Kansas plus 7 against TCU. We told you how good TCU is, but it's a miracle season for Kansas. They might not win, but I love Kansas with the 7 points.
I'll take Kansas plus the 7. I'll take Kansas every week, and that'll be my one pick of the week.
One pick of the week. You're with the J.
TCU just shot their wad last week, scoring 55.
Right.
They'll find a team playing a little better defense this week in Kansas.
Okay. And then my other dog I just was looking at, I really just think this is a trap game for Utah. Also, they're going into UCLA. UCLA just shut down Michael Penix and that high-powered offense.
Undefeated UCLA.
Yes, undefeated UCLA. The right Kelly for the job, Chip Kelly. I think that he's definitely a West Coast coach with Oregon, and I think that he can get that job done. 3.5 at home. I think Utah is a little bit better team, but that front four for UCLA is good. They're playing great at home. They had that big win last week. I mean, actually, they got Washington scored 14 points in the fourth quarter, so they were in control of that game at all times. They're at home again. That's a sneaky good pick, I think.
Okay.
And I'll have one more, my under-over pick.
Beautiful.
All right, I'm giving my under-over pick. Iowa, Illinois.
Iowa has the lowest total.
Right.
All year, every single game,
game.
They've had the lowest total.
Right, but they gave up 140 yards on to Michigan on the rushing. He had 140 yards. Michigan did manhandle them and rush. I think Illinois has Tommy DeVito. He has 9 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. So they have a running back that has 1,000 yards already. So I think, or 733 yards, Chase Brown. So I think that they have a running game in Illinois. I think that I'm going to take the over 35.5. I think that's a hockey under/over score. I mean, 35.5. That's the lowest I've seen in a while. I'm going to go with the over. I say it gets in 2017, 24, 21, somewhere in there. I'm looking for a good game though.
Okay. Well, we certainly have to talk about baseball now.
Oh yeah.
The playoffs begin Friday.
Yeah.
But there were some stories before the playoffs. A certain guy might have hit a home run the other day that might have changed history a little bit.
Right, you got a 60-second.
Aaron Judge.
Aaron Judge.
Against Texas, the Rangers.
Right, and he hit it off of who? Jose Tenuco.
Sure.
The Venezuelan, yeah. I mean, the Venezuelan household name. He's a rookie pitcher and ends up giving that. And if we have to go back to what was the biggest home run hit besides that 60-second mile mark that Aaron Judge, when you say that the Hank Aaron would be the 715. And I know who gave that homer up.
It was either, one guy caught the ball and one guy threw it. It was either Al Downing or Tom House. I think it was Al Downing.
Al Downing threw it.
Tom
and they
House
said you were always be jointed at the hip for throwing that. So I'm going to give you guys a sinker swing.
Tom House was the guy who caught the ball in the bullpen.
In the bullpen.
Okay.
Good. All right. So Al Downing was 27, the same exact age as Jose Tenuco. The pitcher, the Venezuelan pitcher that gave up the home run yesterday. Sink or swim, they're the same age.
Oh, jeez. I guess I'm going to go swim because that's just so outrageous.
Right, exactly. That's why
You wouldn't just
swim.
make that up, would you?
I would never make that up, but it was his 14th season in the. It was he came in the 60s, Joe.
Oh, wow.
61, he came in dialed down. He came in the league. He was a veteran. So unless he was 13 when he came into the league, but he had a really good story about that. I thought that when he said that. When he first came into the league as a rookie, Hank Aaron took him and said, "Hey, if you ever need anything, how things work up here in the big leagues." And he always thought that he was always connected even then, and then he ended up giving up the home run to him. So maybe he gave him a fat slider.
A little wink before
before he threw it.
A good way to get famous quick.
Right. That was the biggest story. Of course, 703 Pujols.
Before you get into that is a record in the American League. That's 62 home runs. It is not a record in the entire league, but in my opinion, definitely it's the new record because all the other guys ahead of him in the National League were all on steroids.
Right. And Aaron Judge is being tested weekly for PEDs. So he's definitely going to be, he's definitely a legitimate category. But it was great. You got to admit, in the 90s when they were Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire hitting home runs. It was great.
It was fun to watch.
Just tainted, though.
Definitely
just
tainted.
So tainted.
Definitely tainted. And
Judges,
baseball's good about having controversy, don't you think?
Well, sure. Well, they needed anything they could get at the time because they were losing fans. Mm-hmm. And now there's the Triple Crown that Judge is going for is a little behind on the batting average.
4 points
but
behind
there's like
going into tonight's
12
game.
categories, what they call this quadruple Triple Crown, and he's leading in 11 of 12.
RBIs, slugging percentages.
Stolen bases is not one of the 12 that they look at, obviously.
Every time he hits it over the base, he steals 4. So, just kidding.
Yeah. Ted Williams did it twice, actually, getting 11 out of 12.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Okay, and you were going to mention Albert Pujols.
Albert Pujols, what a great story. He says he's not coming back. I hope he comes back for one more year. But definitely, was he at 703 right now?
703.
Yeah, so he has one more game.
Yeah. He's second in RBIs in history now. He just passed Babe Ruth, only behind Hank Aaron, and he would need another year at least to catch up to him.
That guy lived up to his nickname, didn't he? The Machine. I mean, he definitely did.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of injuries before we get into Joe. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I was going to say the Dodgers are the 7th team ever with 110 wins or more in the history of baseball. And no, I'd say that's about it.
Well, the playoffs are set. The brackets are up.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bracket setup. So it's just going to be like your brackets in the NCAA tournament. You can't play the Dodgers being the number 1 seed. They will not play the lower seed. They're going to already set the Padres and Mets. And Gator, what's going on with the home? How does the home field work this year with that?
Yeah, all 3 games are going to be on the home field advantage.
Right. So the Mets will have all 3 games at home.
Correct.
There will be no going back.
If it goes to 3 games.
If it goes to 3 games. But
right.
And same thing with the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with the Guardians. And the same thing with the Blue Jays.
Yes.
So they will not be traveling back and forth. They'll have to go on. If you're going to win, you're going to be staying in the same ballpark for all 3 games if it's necessary.
Well, knowing that, do you see any of those home teams not advancing?
Cleveland.
I'm going to say the Blue Jays.
Okay.
I like Seattle.
I'm rooting for Seattle, and you like Toronto.
You like the Guardians?
No, I like,
you like
Tampa Bay.
You like
Tampa Bay
beating the Guardians, beating Cleveland.
Yeah. Okay, and Seattle beating Toronto.
Oh, these are just
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good. Some good points. All right, there. And I like the Cardinals to win, of course.
Sure.
And the Mets. That was just stunning. That was such a great last week. But DeGrom and Scherzer both lost to Atlanta. That was big to give Atlanta the crown. So I think that might be a little bit of a hangover for those guys. I mean, it's tough when you lose that because they were up front all year long, and the Braves, they're the World Series champs. They came back and got them.
Well, I'm going to have to stay away from the American League after talking to you guys. I'm going to take St. Louis and the Mets and just parlay them together. They're both going to be minuses, obviously, and see what I can get out of that.
I like that pick too, Joe. I like St. Louis and the Mets.
And we won't mess with the American League, or at least I won't.
One thing I'll talk about a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about injuries going into this.
Yes.
There's some big injuries. Ozzy Ballots, from the Braves, he is out until October 20th with that finger injury. So he will not be available even in the divisional series next. So he's not even scheduled. He will miss the divisional series. It will be either against Philly or the Cardinals. Okay. All right. Chris Taylor will be back for the Dodgers, along with Blake Trinan, the
Trinit.
Yep, the XA, great relievers. That's good. They'll get those guys back October 11th. That's when they start their playoffs.
Right.
And they had Tony Gonsolin come back and throw 2 innings of shutout baseball against the Rockies this week. So they're getting another horse in the stable for their awesome pitching staff already. So that looks good. Jesse Winkler comes back. He has a neck injury for Seattle. He'll be playing in his series. And Frankie Montez, the pitcher for the Yankees, will be back for their series.
Former A.
Another former A. And then Andrew Benatelli will be back for...
Benintendi's on the Yankees, right?
Yankees, yeah. He'll be back for the October 11th also. So he's coming off the injured reserve list.
Well, now that the playoffs are starting, World Series prediction, although we did make some before the season, I can't even remember what I picked, but it's been a while. And who do you got? Who do you think?
I got the Dodgers playing the Yankees. That's what I think everybody in the world wants to see. I think that you have Dodgers with their boastful, high-powered offense against Aaron Judge with his big bat. I think that would be a great World Series, but I'm going to say the Dodgers beat the Yankees.
I disagree.
Okay, of course.
First off, in the National League, I kind of look at it like the President's Cup in hockey. Team's going to win the President's Cup. It's not going to win the Stanley Cup.
The best team will not keep it up during the playoffs.
Right, so I'm going to have to say the New York Mets. Now, I know that they just lost to Atlanta, and I understand that, but I don't think the playoffs are totally different. I think they have a better team all around. In the AL, I kind of like Houston. I don't want Houston to win, so I'm going to have to go with the Mets beating Houston in the World Series. Now, that is 12-1 a few days ago. I don't know what it is today.
The matchup.
The matchup. And Mets winning.
Well, I'm going to think Atlanta maybe repeats. It's kind of crazy that they might because they're Atlanta. But I got Atlanta beating Houston. That will have a good rivalry there because Houston is the villain and Atlanta is the nice team that nobody really expects to do a whole lot. And they're not the Dodgers who everybody expects to do everything.
Well, Atlanta proves that when you get down to playoff baseball, the hottest team, you might not be the hottest team throughout the year, but the hottest team during that series is Atlanta. Got hot at the right time, and that's the reason they won it. They can go, most of these teams have a pretty good chance. If you want to bet Tampa Bay, you can probably get them at 30-1. You get the Guardians at 35-1 if you want to make it.
St. Louis is like 20 or 25.
25-1, and I think Phillies have the worst.
Yeah.
I think they're at 40-1 or something like that. Okay. So,
one last baseball note. Our Reno Aces lost in the championship game to the Durham Bulls. It was just a one-game championship. They were leading going into the 9th inning and gave it up. They were 3 outs away from being AAA champions and failed right at the end. But Durham Bulls, and of course we all know the movie Bull Durham.
Right.
And they have an excellent tradition there. And
Kevin Costner and
come through and won again.
Congratulations to the Aces.
Yeah, they got that close. So anybody who went out and watched a ball game or whatever, you saw a really good team. So we now need to shift over to auto racing. Gator, what occurred in NASCAR at Talladega, the super speedway, last Sunday?
Well, first off, Joe, there was talk about a protest before the race season, before qualifying or anything like that happened. But all 37 drivers did show up, so that didn't happen.
what was the protest for?
Well, the safety on the cars.
Oh, okay.
Because you are going to Talladega. So they were pretty worried about how all this has been going down lately.
Well, guys have been getting
cars.
concussions in these crashes.
And cars blowing up.
And catching on fire.
Tires.
Flip it over into the stands.
Yeah. So anyways, actually this was the least dramatic. We only had 6 yellows. And we only had 1 multi-car crash.
So the under on the crashes definitely hit.
Big time.
Big time, correct. And we did have 57 lead changes, and I don't consider that too much of a big deal when you're at Talladega or Daytona.
17 drivers.
God, yeah, we had 17 drivers. But Chase Elliott won. He won by 46 thousandths of a second over Ryan Blaney. And that was our first playoff car win, Joe. Finally.
Yeah, well, it's about to happen sooner or later.
You would think so. So,
he got a pretty good push at the end by Jones. He gave him a
You
pretty
saw
good
that?
push. Yeah, it was a good push.
Yeah, he was.
That was a good team win right there.
Elliott was 5th with 2 laps left on a restart, Joe, so he came up. But again, to me, those stats ain't that amazing to me because at Daytona and Talladega, you'd be 20th one lap and the next lap be 5th.
Okay.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, so, just that's how the track is. Anyway, so our top 5, Joe, was Chase Elliott, Chevy, Ryan Blaney, Ford, Michael McDowell, Ford. So the Fords did okay. Ross Chastain Chevy got 4th, and the first Toyota was Denny Hamlin, 5th.
Okay. And so Chevy was the bet on the constructor or whatever they call that, manufacturer.
So I got that, yeah. I hit that one.
Okay.
Wrong driver though. I had Larson, but still.
13-1.
Right, deep.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I actually hit that.
Oh, did you?
Chase Elliott, yeah.
We're right on.
Oh,
Good deal.
nicely done. So next up is the Roval at Charlotte. Do you happen to have a prediction?
Yeah, well, first off, we're going to get cut down to 8 at that point. Chase Elliott, of course, for winning, he's going to be in there, so there's 7 spots left. Brian Blaney's the next one at the top.
So only one driver is moving on to the next round for sure.
For sure, correct. Okay. Now, that's going to be at Charlotte, North Carolina. It's the defending champion was Kyle Larson.
Yeah. You kind of want to lean towards Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott on these road courses, but
I'm going to go totally the other way, Joe. I like the Fords, and I understand what you're saying, Joe, and I thought about that, but Ryan Blaney looks really good to me. And he's 15-1, and that 15-1 is popping in my head.
Okay.
But what about Truex in a road course? Truex is good on the road course.
He is good.
Yeah.
There's a few guys, Chastain, and there's about 6 or 7 guys.
Suarez is decent because
I can't trust the Toyotas right now.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. But NBC.
So you're telling us Toyota's not going to be sponsoring us this week? Is that what we're saying? The producer just told us that we just lost a sponsor. So
well, I root for Toyotas all the time in my heart. But again, when you're talking betting or
you just got to go with who you think is going to win it.
Right.
Throw everything.
But
out.
I do
go
like
with your gut
Toyota.
first, then look at the stats afterwards. How about Formula One, Gator?
Okay.
What transpired in Singapore last Sunday?
What, rain?
And a missile flying over. No, that was North Korea throwing a missile over.
Okay, well, this race was run under very wet conditions. And Red Bull won with Sergio Perez. But Perez, Joe, had a 5-second penalty added to his time and still won by 2.5 seconds. So, over Charles Leclerc.
Okay. So what happened to Max Verstappen? I mean, he had won 5 races in a row.
Right,
there was no stopping Verstappen, but something happened.
Well, he finished 7th. It was the rain and all that, Joe, but the story was Sergio, man. He was warned about falling more than 10 car lengths behind the safety car. And then when he did it a second time, that's when they gave him... Now, Perez said that turn 13 and 14 were very slick, and Formula One was okay with that. They understood where Sergio was coming from. But because of all the things that have been happening, Joe, they still gave him the penalty. But it didn't affect him too much.
He won anyway. Yeah, and had he not, there might have been a bit of a controversy.
Exactly.
And it's good that it ended up just the way it did.
Yes, I agree, Joe. And then it's also good for the fans that Max did not finish this race, because I think the next race he's going to win and take the championship in Japan.
Japanese Grand Prix.
They haven't run that since 2018, Joe.
Oh, COVID.
Mm-hmm. And that's when Valtteri Bottas Mercedes won.
Is he still racing? I don't know.
I'm not sure. Well, I don't.
If he is, he's a back marker
somewhere.
Well, Verstappen's minus 190. That's a lot better than the minus 250 he was last week.
Great racing here. There's a lot of passing, a lot of speeds. This is a great track, Joe.
Okay,
it's a very entertaining track.
And our last subject, we're going to talk hockey, but we are going to do a hockey preview. So all we're going to ask you to do, Gator, is just give some predictions as far as this week's games. The season starts Friday, I believe.
That's correct. Most everybody's going to start on the 11th, because everybody's thinking that's what it is. But there's 4 games between now and Wednesday. And Nashville and San Jose are going to be playing in Prague, Czech Republic. And I'm taking Nashville on both of those. And Tuesday we have 2 games. We have the Rangers hosting Tampa Bay. I like the Rangers at home. And then my next one, this is the one I was flip-flopping on all the time, but I'm going to take Vegas over L.A.
Well, if you're flip-flopping on it, wouldn't you rather just stay away from it in that case?
No, because I think L.A., Quick is a really good goalie. I love Quick. But I don't think in the beginning of the seasons he's that great, and I think Vegas has more power up front than L.A. does.
All right.
So, no, I don't want to stop. I'm going to take a chance. I'm gambling.
You're gambling. You're rolling the dice. All right. So
Start 4-0.
That's where you left. 70%.
So we will have a hockey preview. We'll put that up on the website, and for all you listeners to listen to. But now we have to talk about those wagers, those things that happened where we thought we were going to be winners, and right at the end, we ended up becoming losers. It's that segment we like to call "You Got Hose."
You got hosed.
Gator, do you have a "You Got Hose" story?
Well, mine's not really about gambling, Joe. Mine's more about Dish Network. Not this Monday, last Monday, when we went to go turn on the Mothership channel. And it was not on, Joe. We couldn't get 1, 2, news, nothing. So the guy tells us that the company that is trying to ruin the Marvel movies wants more money. So we're not going to show any of the Mothership channels. So that went on until last Monday. It was back on. So if you had Dish that whole week, you didn't have any of those,
You got a host.
I would have to say you got hosed.
That's sacrilege, not having those channels. I don't know how I could live without that.
I'm sure they got a earful.
I would hope so. And they probably lost a few customers. So, yes, Dish subscribers definitely got hosed.
You got a you got hosed story?
Well, before I got a you got host story, I'm gonna have to wish a very happy birthday to our host and my very good friend, Joe Ellis.
Right. Yay, Joe.
So, happy birthday, buddy. You do a great job on the show.
Yep.
Happy birthday.
It's great to be 25.
I know, exactly.
It's amazing. I love it. And congratulations to Big Rich.
Right.
Last Friday, just got married.
My wife definitely said yes, and I appreciate all my family coming. And we had the under-over. We had a pool at our reception, and the under-over was 3 people would be thrown into the pool, and nobody went in the pool. So I went in the pool. So thank you, Martins, for doing the right thing.
Well, enjoy your first marriage.
Okay.
And hopefully we wish you the best.
All right, good. Thank you. And then my You Got Hosed story would be I have Javonte Williams and Tua. And like I said, Tua's on his back.
Fantasy football.
Javonte Williams is in the hospital, and my other quarterback, Matthew Stafford, is in the toilet. So I did the complete opposite what the Rams did. I dumped Matthew Stafford, and I picked up golf. So I did the complete opposite trade that the Rams did. I'm taking golf. I'm dumping Stafford.
Funny how things work out. But your fantasy football team, they definitely got housed. And, I had 2 on Waddle in one of mine, and I lost by 3 points.
Tough.
It was a killer, and having a game on a Thursday is just brutal.
Always,
because you just really don't know what to do. But
You got a story?
well, yeah, it's kind of weird. Syracuse was up big in the first half over Wagner. So I don't know what the score was. It must have been like 45-0. I don't know. So they decide, why, I don't know, that in the third and fourth quarter, they'd only play 10 minutes each in the third and fourth quarter. Well, Caesar says you have to play at least 55 minutes in a game for it to count. Syracuse covered the game easily, was going to cover the game easily, but if you got bet Syracuse at Caesars, all you got was your money back because that was not an official game. So if you bet Syracuse, you got completely hosed.
Or the other way, Joe. If you threw your ticket away, you could have got your money back.
And didn't even know it? Just look at the score and go, oh, I lost.
Thanks a lot, Vegas.
You got hosed.
So I have to thank my colleagues here, Big Richard Martin and Gator Gates. I really appreciate you guys being on the show.
We appreciate you, Joe, very much, and our
producer and engineer.
Yes, sir.
Cornelius. And we thank all our listeners, and we hope to have another great show next week. I'm sure we will. We're going to be talking about remind people again, the hockey preview.
Mm-hmm.
And hockey will be a part of the show next week, and we'll make more predictions. And we look forward to doing another show of Covering the Field.
You've been listening to Covering the Field Email us at coveringthefield@gmail.com for all your comments or questions. Find us on Twitter @coveringfield. And of course, always check out the website for our picks of the week and updated articles. coveringthefield.com.